Hey guys, I'm Chris Buck, and a very warm welcome to Friday Fretworks. So first and foremost, let's address the video title of today's video. Don't worry, I've not become so self-obsessed in the last week that I now assume everyone and their mother wants to play like myself. In all honesty, it's a perpetual amazement that anyone would want to. But given the kind of amount of questions I had in last week's video in regard to what the solo was, if they could learn it, tutorials, backing tracks, what the track was, etc, etc, I thought it would be a cool little opportunity to do a little spin on Casey Neistat's video, if you're familiar with him. Really kind of big YouTuber. How to make films like Casey Neistat by Casey Neistat. And honestly, as much as I can appreciate the kind of desire to tab out solos and kind of learn them note for note, for me, it's always been a case of trying to get inside the kind of mindset or the head, I guess, of the person who kind of quote unquote wrote that solo, as much as understanding their kind of rationale for doing certain things, why they went up the neck at this point or down the neck at this point, stuff like that. That's kind of really what interests me. So as much as today's video is going to be all about breaking down my solo from last week's video, which sounded a little bit like this. Because that's actually the album version of the solo. One of the questions which was very frequent in last week's video is what the track actually was. And to answer the questions now, it's a track called Slow Train by Buck and Evans, which will be coming out on our debut album Write a Better Day later on this year. But coincidentally, that single, the music video for that single, will be released this coming Sunday, 17th of February, on this YouTube channel. So plug, do check it out if you're around. But as I said, just the amount of requests I got in regard to if I would do a tutorial, if I would make the tab available, all that kind of fun stuff. This is in response to that video. I will make the tab available in the link in the description box below. But honestly, it's kind of, like I said, as much as the focus may be for some people, learning it note for note, this is a little bit of a kind of exploration, I guess, into just the thinking behind why I do certain things at certain points to solo. Certain key phrases, certain key elements, just, as I said, a little bit of an understanding of it. So, without further ado, let's take it away. So, before we delve into actual note selection, something I wanted to touch upon, which is something I've banged on about in previous, episodes where I've broken anything down. I talk about this at much greater length in my instructional DVD with Lick Library, and that is context. And at the risk of sounding a little bit waffly or a little bit pretentious, honestly, it is king, it's everything. And what I mean by context is being aware of your musical surroundings, knowing what you want to say with your solo, where you come in, how you come into your solo, and more importantly, I guess, how you're going to go out of your solo, what has happened in the track prior to your solo, and what is going to happen after your solo. All of these kind of, in isolation, I guess, very little kind of microcosm elements of the track really make up the bigger picture and very much inform what you're going to do. And for me, as much as this, honestly, it isn't a kind of a conscious thought process anymore, so much as it's just something that kind of constantly whirs away in the back of my head. It absolutely informs everything that I do, everything that I play, and ultimately how the solo sounds. And if we're looking for a good example of something which is going to inform my solo, Slow Train is a very good example of that. We have a quiet instrumental section, the midsection, I guess you want to call it the middle eight, the bridge, whatever, followed by a very loud snare crack into the solo. So as much as I may have said in the past that a good way to start your solos is to kind of feel your way in, not kind of give everything away at once and, using it as an excuse to show us everything you know within the first 10 seconds. This is a very good example of kind of maybe something to the contrary of that, really making a bold statement of here I am, here's my solo. And in that respect, that's very much why I've started with a big emphatic slide up to the root note. As I said, it's a bold statement. It lets you know that the solo has arrived and is, something cool is about to happen. So the next bit, to be honest, is something that I'm going to hit, or at least nail live about 40%, if not slightly less of that, to be honest. And that is a slide up to a D harmonic, on your 19th fret of your G. If I try and do that live, Let's have a look. Huh. Kind of there, kind of not. I think on the honest, to be honest, on the record, I probably bolstered that with an actual harmonic underneath it, just to kind of fulfill what was already there. The reason I do this is probably a Clapton thing. To be honest, thinking back, I think it's something I've picked up from watching him over the years. Anyway, either way, that's a very big, very kind of bold, emphatic entrance to your solo. Again, really kind of cemented, I guess, by what comes after, which is going to be a brief run down your pentatonic scale. Followed by that big open ringing E string. The reason I'm doing this, and it's something else I've spoken about in previous episodes, is outlining the chords that you're playing. And that last chord there, 3 chords by the way, are going to be C major, A minor, E minor. And that last chord, obviously being an E minor, if any note is going to work over it, it's going to be a big emphatic E note. Reason being, again, it just kind of sets the tone for the solo. So thus far we have... followed by... pretty much kind of reversing what we've just done. Kind of not undoes what we've done, what we've already done, I guess, but echoes it very slightly enough to be sort of familiar and enough to kind of lead you into the next section, which is going to be, after all of that kind of slightly fast, slightly kind of Stevie Ray emphatic stuff, I guess, something a little bit more kind of slow and melodic, which is going to be a big bend from your 10th fret on your B string up to a B. Reason being, it kind of chills things out a little bit, I guess, if we are to kind of give it a reason. Just takes it down a notch and kind of makes it a little bit more melodic. Before, again, running back down your pentatonic scale. So we kind of set in the tone. That intro is very much kind of based in this area, I guess. And again, it's something I've spoken about, is not using everything you know at once and not playing entirely in one kind of area of the neck or in one register. The next bit of the solo is going to move up to your position 1 pentatonic, which just gives it a slightly more exciting, slightly higher feel. Just because we're moving from your, 7th kind of down to your 5th fret, 9th fret, up to your 12th and 15th. Just takes it up a notch and adds to the level of excitement. So, we've got a very kind of Stevie Ray thing. Again, it's not dissimilar to the introduction of the track, where it's a big, bold kind of, boom, here I am kind of thing. So we're going to bend on your 15th fret of your B string before hitting the 12th on your E string. And again, we've got that kind of Stevie Ray kind of slide off. Hopefully that's slow enough for a couple of you to pick up on. As I said, the tab will be available to buy in the description box of this. But to pick up one of the kind of key elements of that is something that I get picked up on a lot, and that is that kind of A, the microtonal kind of slide, and B, multi-step bends. Again, I talk about this at kind of great length, and explain the origins of it, I guess, at least for me, in the Lick Library thing, but to touch upon it quickly. We're going to be sliding from your 14th fret momentarily, really momentarily. I can't emphasize that enough. If it's too slow, it kind of really loses the feel of it. Up to your 15th fret on your E string, and then back down your 14th. Before pulling off to your 12th. I use my third finger for the kind of slide bit, just because my ring finger is probably my most powerful finger, to be honest. It's kind of bolstered by the other two stacked up behind it and really kind of works. But, you know, if you want to use your second finger, whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as it's accurate and as long as you maintain enough speed and enough momentum into it in order to be able to pull off successfully back down to your 12th fret. Again, we're going to repeat that, and I've made this point in multiple videos. Repetition is a huge part of soloing. It, you know, creates a sense of familiarity with the listener, just makes them feel a little bit more comfortable that you kind of know what you're doing, I guess, and really kind of gives a sense of this is going somewhere. And, you know, no greater example of that, I guess, than repeating what we've just done, but in a slightly higher register. So we've got that one first. Good start. So we're going to go up to your 17th fret, slide up to your 18th, back down to your 17th, back down to your 15th. So, followed by a big bend on your 17th fret. Followed by, I guess, the kind of multi-step bending, for want of a better phrase. So we're going to bend up, as I said, on your 17th fret, a whole tone, followed by a half tone. So we're actually aiming, and a big part of this is really understanding what notes you're aiming for. If you're not sure of what it is you're trying to achieve, it can all sound a little bit kind of, you know, cappy and strangle. So we're going to be bending up a whole tone from your 17th fret to your 19th fret, in essence. And then another half tone, so in essence we're trying to hit your 20th fret. And if you want to kind of really outline what it is you're trying to do, play the actual notes. And again, another kind of little subtle touch with that is momentarily dropping down off the bend before going back up. Really gives it that kind of vocal fluidity, I guess, for want of a better phrase. Honestly, it's not easy on the fingers, and if you're using 10s like I am, I mean, I'm fairly used to 10s. If I was gigging more, I'd be able to get away with 11s, but now, you know, just playing guitar around the house for the past couple of days, it's kind of ripping my fingers to shreds, to be honest. So it's not the easiest thing in the world, but it's all in the kind of name of that kind of vocal freedom and, as I said, fluidity of building that kind of solo as you would sing it, ultimately. So we have... Next, I kind of run down it earlier. Bit I really want to pick out of that is using that E note with your thumb to kind of bounce off, I guess, with your pentatonic. I do it. It's something I kind of do relatively frequently. I guess at heart, you're again outlining the chord that you're playing. That bit of the solo is actually taking place over the E minor chord, so it works. If you were doing that over the C or the A, maybe not so much. But again, if you're playing an E under that, it's just kind of bolsters it. It gives it a little bit of a kind of Hendrixy feel, I guess, maybe. But it's just a cool little kind of motif, you know. Like I said, it's a very Hendrixy kind of very, I don't know, machine gun maybe? That kind of thing going on. Anyway. What happens next? So. Not to keep banging on about the whole kind of familiarity thing, but again, we're going to use something that we used earlier, and that is a bend on your 10th fret of your B string, bend it up to your, in essence, your B note, your 12th fret. You'll notice that from earlier on in the solo, when we did that little thing, but this is going to be relatively similar. And again, it's something that I maybe did, I'll have to take a proper listen back to it, but you can actually get away with slightly overbending that. Again, it's a kind of tone and a half. depending on where you are in the kind of chord progression. Because if you hit that, you probably know, it's a C note. And over, I should say, a C chord. So you can get away with actually kind of bending that a little bit kind of more if you really want to. So now into the kind of last sort of section of the solo, I guess, and it's one of the few kind of truly fast sections of it. And the reason I did this, to be entirely honest with you, it's the one bit of the solo that I'm not entirely happy with. Listening back, I was kind of fairly happy with it at the time, but, you know, kind of giving the record a blast in the couple of times that I have since we had it back from mastering, it's one of the sections that I think, given a chance, I would probably redo, but, you know, that's fairly kind of frequent, to be honest, just little kind of sections that you would redo or kind of re-record given a chance, but we're going to do it anyway. So again, we've got that kind of little microtonal. So the thinking behind this bit, this kind of fast run that's about to follow, is, I guess it's kind of reminiscent of Sweet Child of Mine in a way, that kind of fast run down, or run up, should we say, the Slash does in the middle of the solo, if we're to equate it to anything. And it kind of serves very much the same purpose, in that it's kind of building a little bit of tension, I should say, into what is inevitably going to be that kind of release moment. So again, finishing on a similar motif to what we did earlier with that kind of. Into the last bit of the solo. Again, we've got that kind of microtonal slide. Before stepping it up from his 17th to your 19th, before again that kind of little microtonal slide. Finishing off the solo on that. And again, it's all in the kind of name of vocal fluidity, I guess, and giving it that kind of more kind of free sound that you associate with singers and not so much with guitar players. So just to run through the solo again as slowly as I can without getting away with it, or kind of without getting lost as to where I am. None of that is legally binding. Honestly, slowing down solos I find a little bit of a nightmare, because so much of it is in the rhythm and so much of it is in the kind of groove of the notes, I guess, and as soon as you start slowing that down, it gets a little bit lost for me. But I hope that was helpful. As I said, this is, you know, if you want purely the dots, or not so much the dots as the notes, I will make the tab available in the description box below. But hopefully this will, you know, has been a little bit more of an exploration into my kind of thought process behind it as much as anything else. Building tension, telling a little bit of a story, starting off low and kind of working your way up high. You know, we start, it says a lot of the starting note of the solo is down there, and the finishing note is right up on your 15th and 17th frets. It's telling a story, it's building a little bit of kind of creative tension, and then, you know, releasing it. You don't want to kind of build tension with no intention of releasing it whatsoever, because it's just going to kind of give the listener a slightly uneasy feeling, I guess. But it's all in the telling of the story, and hopefully that comes across. Apologies for the stinking cold that I seem to have caught at some point between last week and this week. But as ever, thank you very much for watching. This has been Friday Fretworks. As I said, Slow Train is actually out this coming Sunday, so do check out the premiere on YouTube. And I shall see you next week for a less flu-ridden Friday Fretworks. Cheers, guys. Take care.